Catherine the Great is HBO's lavish period drama chronicling the life of Catherine the Great, Empress of Russia. I'm Rob Licuria, senior editor at Gold Derby. I'm here with co-star Jason Clarke. He plays military commander and Catherine's lover, Grigory Potemkin. Jason, this is a really interesting, epic story about a powerful historical figure who ruled Russia, who happens to be a woman in a very patriarchal society. Is it a stretch?
Yeah, and a German woman.
Yeah. Is it a stretch to
Not
draw
even
parallels
Russian.
between that story and our current political and cultural landscape?
I mean, I read the other day in the news, Germany's falling in love with Angela Merkel again, which I think is good news, not just for Germany, but for the world. Um, I mean, I've always loved Angela Merkel, educated, strong, clear, compassionate, but and knows what she's talking about and builds consensus. Of course there is. I mean, because I think there's so few through history in terms of strong women leaders, and the ones that have survived and have done well, are immensely and more fondly remembered because of what they did and how they did it. And Catherine was an extraordinary one. I mean, a German in Russia in a time, in a crazy time of the world of great upheaval, and she managed to, usurp the throne from her husband and rule Russia, and be one, and eventually get the title of great, like Peter. There's only been two Russians, I think, who had that. There's Ivan the Terrible. I mean, I love the names the Russians have. But, there was Peter the Great, and then there was Catherine the Great.
Yeah.
And at a time where, say Frederick the Great was an incredible misogynist who was running Prussia, had all kinds of nasty things. So she was, and I mean, whoever's going to get the job done, and in this time it was a German woman that did it for Russia, and became Mother Russia.
Yeah.
And and that was one of the things that attracted me to playing Grigory. This man that served her so well, that was in love with his wife, his woman, his lover, his Mother Russia, his queen, his empress, his nation. Who gave him everything and educated him everything.
Yeah.
And and Helen, I thought, was the perfect woman to play that. Apart from, we couldn't get Angela Merkel; she was busy.
She was a bit busy. But I wonder, when you take on a historical role like this, did you know much about Grigory Potemkin before you took it on? I mean, I had no idea who he was. I had to look him up.
Yeah, so I mean, look, I knew a little bit. I mean, there's all the Potemkin battleship, the Potemkin villages, some basic falsehoods, and no, I didn't. And then I loved, look, in fact, look, the script fascinated. But then when I picked up a book written by Simon Sebag Montefiore on the history of the Romanovs. And the minute you just open the first couple of pages into Michael, first taking over in the 10th century, you get into Ivan the Terrible. It was just like, yeah, I really want to play a person in this world. And then you get to, Grigory, and you just, and you're just like, wow. I mean, what a titanic figure! What a monumental man serving a monumental woman. Just life, love, education, art, food, sex. There was dwarves in there. There was empire building. There was, it was just, in the steppes of Russia, and you realize how gigantic Russia is, how gigantic its history is, how complicated its struggle has been, so I love the character, I love the word, I loved its understanding of what it taught me in studying Russian history, just of where we are in the world now and Russia's place in it and our relationship to her.
Yeah. I always wonder this as well, when actors are playing real people, even if they've been dead for centuries, are you ever bothered about making this guy like authentic and your own creation, or are you really concerned about trying to make him historically accurate? Are you playing that game in your head when you're trying to bring him to life?
Of course you are. Yeah. It's constant. It's a pendulum that just moves all the time. I mean, you read some of this. You don't want to, kitchen sink drama. I don't want to make it me. You know what I mean? I just don't want to put on a wig and a this and a that and a couple other things and go, okay, let's just make it so long as I'm believable. You do have to be believable. You have to be real, but you've also got to reach for the enormity of it. When you go to these palaces in St. Petersburg, where we filmed a bunch of, I mean, these people inhabited this, they owned this palace. They built this palace. They filled these halls. They were the ones the whole nation looked up to. That she had to be Catherine the Great. I had to be Grigory Potemkin. They were Shakespeare, and they bestrode the natural world like colossi. So you had to reach, and that was the thing that scared me and really attracted me to playing and being part of this. Was there was a lot of reaching to do, to be a battle commander, to be a poet, to be a lover, to be, an empire builder, to be a man that dominated the world. That lived the way these Russians lived, and trying to preserve their own lives and the lives of their nation. It was, so you're always trying to look. You can't be too scared that you're not going to go too big, and you can't be histrionic that it becomes, a farce or a comedic, just exclamatory nothingness.
Yeah.
And there's lots of wonderful things to, and actors to go back and look at. I mean, I've always, I love the biggest, Daniel Day-Lewis in There Will Be Blood. But then you go back and you watch, say, Trevor Howard in the Crimean War one, The Charge of the Light Brigade. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's an extraordinary performance of big physicality. And I love watching some of these old actors, not just for the mannerisms and the style, but for the just don't be scared. Look how big you can go and how real you can make it, but you've got to go there.
Yeah.
And that's what Potemkin embodied for me, and this court and this world. It was a big time. These people did not like to be bored, and their lives weren't boring.
No. If they weren't conquering the Crimea, they were, God knows, they were having sex with whoever.
No,
it was just looked like a lot of fun.
Oh, my God.
Looked like a lot of fun.
Oh, my God. You read Russian history. It's just phenomenal.
It's constant.
That's a fighter jet going over here.
Oh, nice.
There's a French Air Force base nearby. It's a Mirage. They fly over sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But they were phenomenal figures, and they're writing. There's like a lot of love letters between Catherine and Potemkin. Oh my God. The expressions, the politics they were dealing with, the world. I mean, Potemkin built hospitals and villages and sewerage and beer and wine and brought people in from overseas to try and populate the steppes of Russia. Their lives and their achievements are extraordinary.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, they are. And what really surprised me was this 4-part miniseries is actually more romantic than I was expecting. I was expecting it to be really kind of histrionic and a bit dry, because that's what you expect. But like, for example, in episode 3, Grigory is in the Crimea, and the two characters are writing to each other, and they're longingly, they miss each other, and then it culminates in Grigory essentially gifting the fleet and the whole of Crimea to Catherine.
Yeah.
Did that surprise you? Yeah. Did that element surprise you?
I guess so, and I guess not. You watch The Sopranos, and it's about family. In the end of the day, I mean, I think anything good and lasting is about that it was a love story. It's funny because the last thing I read after I did all my research on Grigory was the love letters. I wanted to save them. There's letters between them. They discuss so much, but no, I mean, for a man, I love finding that with Helen. I love Helen Mirren. I loved her life, and I love the way she lives and she thinks, and just her journey as a person. And it wasn't in a way. I mean, you couldn't help but love this woman who ruled Russia as a German, that did all these things, that brought together this huge, massive area and made it work. And I mean, instead of just giving somebody a car, which is the lavish birthday now, or a card or some flowers, he gave her the Crimea, and he labored for it. But I mean, she was Russia, and he was Russian. He loved her as a woman. He loved her as a teacher, as a mother, as his nation, as the soul of who he was as a Russian. And but as a foreigner, I don't think you can ever really get into the completeness of what it means to be another. That's why I love shooting in Russia and meeting these Russians and the historians and the people that have written and devoted their life to it. That just what it means to love Russia. Yeah. And and they loved their country, and essentially they were ensuring the survival of their country.
The other thing that really struck me when I watched this one was it's aesthetically, like visually, the aesthetic of it is really quite striking. I found some of it really breathtaking to watch, to be completely honest. And I wonder if I have that kind of reaction as a viewer, what impact does it
You had
have?
what was your reaction again? Say that again.
I was kind of it was breathtaking to watch just
Yeah,
visually. And I'm wondering
yeah.
what kind of creative environment, like that kind of creative environment, what impact does it have on the actors' performances when it's so breathtaking to kind of work within that, those sets?
Fantastic. I mean, it's like, it's the process you go through I go through is I allow it. I mean, I allow myself to still like, oh my God, this golden hall here, at Catherine's Palace. And you go, I mean, and this is we shot on a floor, which was one of the few surviving ones, which was original, that scene between her and I having a massive argument,
Yeah.
where I start bleeding. It was one of the few surviving, walls, and had even a little burnt spot from where some German soldiers had burnt them, cooked food in World War II when they were besieging Leningrad. Um, it's it's a challenge. For me, it lifts you up to meet it, to own it, embody this palace, be it. It's yours, command it. This is your house. Fill it.
Yeah.
And you can then also relax in that it lets it go and does it for you. Like that scene where we're walking in to get married at the end, the snow, you look at it, sometimes
Yeah.
you just look at things on the monitor because it just looks so beautiful. You go, Jace, just walk in, man. Just walk in. There's, you have a relationship that goes on with it. And I love, I mean, Russians have a relationship with their land, with the cold, with the boat and the water and
Yeah.
there's a physicality and a grandness, but then a baseness. I mean, where he dies out on the steppe, I love shooting that. They put up a couple of lights, but just that caravan snake. I mean, the Danube, the steppe out there past, like when you get into Mongolia, it's endless. It's massive. I mean, the Germans in World War II got there and freaked out because it was too big, and there's old Potemkin and his train heading across there,
Yeah.
I mean, exploring it. It was, it's an odyssey, and it's wonderful. I've done it before. Sometimes you can just let the background and the work, the thing do it for you.
Yeah.
The robes and the wolf and the skin and and the thing, but then you've also got to go to it as well.
Yeah. You've got to match it, and I think that
Yeah,
was
you
that
do.
was
You have to go
time.
after it. I mean, I think too many people just sit there and just, let's just do the nothing acting. Look up when I'm, thinking, and
Yeah.
down when I'm
Exactly.
remembering, and
But I noticed that about, if you don't mind me, I'm thinking about some of your other roles. I've noticed that about your performances before. Like, for example, Potemkin's known for living a life of excess, women, money, power. He's an alpha male. You play alpha males a lot, and I'm wondering, does strong, dominating presence on screen, is that something that casting directors look at you personally, or is that something that's within you and you like doing? Like, what's the story there? Why do you always play characters like that?
I think I do, but I've also been like, say in the aftermath. I remember this journalist was asking me about, playing a man whose wife is sleeping with another man. I was the B male in that, with
Fair enough.
Alex,
Yeah.
or say in Mudbound, and things like that. I mean, I think it's, yeah, they do. Of course they go to look, after Lawless, or in Zero Dark Thirty. Well, they go, they want a sensitive alpha male,
Yeah.
and you go into these, versions, I guess, of, the basis of what makes up a person, a male or a female, and and I do love exploring what it means to be a man,
Hmm.
and the good and the bad. Say for Mudbound, for instance, he's that tangible tissue in a racist society between out and out, lynching,
Yeah.
which was Pappy, and a new sensitivity, which was Garrett's character, and he's the brother in this tissue in between this world, and and it's a very grey area, and I find every soul and psyche is grey,
Yeah.
and and you try to, even like I say in Pet Cemetery, a scientist or a doctor that goes through, believing in, A is B and B is B, and then all of a sudden there's people coming back from the dead,
Yeah.
um so I've just like to look at different versions of what a man is and what he brings to, you know, what he brings to the world, and in this case, what he brings to his woman. I mean, Potemkin is an alpha male, but is totally subservient to his woman.
Exactly.
I mean, she
That's what
puts
I
him
was
in his
thinking.
place, but at the same time, it was very important for me to get across. Grigory wants them, and he gets there and he kisses her feet.
Yeah.
I mean, he truly, through his greatness, realizes who she is and what she has given him.
Yeah. And that's what I was
And that
getting to.
partnership.
because he's an alpha male like some of your characters, but he's got this other side to him, this nuance. He doesn't usurp her. He doesn't want to beat her. He just wants to serve her. But also, he's really strong. I found it really interesting, and I was just trying to work out what are his motivations. And by the end of it, I'm like, he just loves her and loves Russia. And
No, he does. He loves her, and he loves her for everything she is. I mean, you know, when I was doing interviews, oh, the age difference and all that, and it's just like, what? No, you can't repeat it. She is the Empress of Russia. That is impressive.
Yeah.
Not just because she's important or powerful or whatever, no, but because it is impressive that you can be impressed with someone, and that is attractive. And I think constantly throughout his life, what I read, that she always amazed him. He always looked to her. He always led her and gave her, you know, such, you know, you see what happens to her when he dies, and what she means to him and what they mean to each other. But just to constantly, you know, be challenged and impressed and, you know, and educated by this partner, you know, and to find that attractive emotionally and sexually as well.
Yeah.
And that's I truly love playing that character. I really did. You know, that scene on the boat between Helen and I, sitting up the back, having a laugh as we reflect our lives, and I loved every single moment of it with her. She's an extraordinary woman, and you know, and that's our version of Catherine and Grigory, and we had a ball together.
Like, thinking of it on a more higher level, you know, period dramas about monarchs have always been super popular, right? Recently, we've seen like, Crown and David Michôd's The King and Tony McNamara's The Great, the other series about Catherine.
Yes.
Why do you think this genre is so popular? Why do people love watching things about monarchs?
I don't know. I mean, in Australia, remember we'd have the movie of the week or whatever, you know, and they have these great big, you know, historical epics of a place far away, of like I guess they're like a romance novel or an adventure novel or a you know, there's just something. I mean, I don't know, it's my Marvel, it's my Captain, you know, it's my comic book. It's like there's something which is exciting and romantic and extraordinary and educational about it.
Yeah.
You know, it takes you to a place. It's like it's your own version of time travel. And of course, you know, then the monarchs themselves were usually at the center of the world, you know, the center of what was going on. So it's easy to, you know, to drama and narrate. I mean, you know, nobody really likes to. I mean, I used to love Thomas Hardy books, but nobody likes to stick too much with the, you know, the pig farmer over there is having a hard time with the winter. I mean, it's a much, you know what I mean? As much as we love the Thomas Hardys and you know, you also want to reach for the big, you know, the madness of King George. There's been an extraordinary amount of them.
I know, and they're so good. They're usually really
I mean, it's that's the same with the old, you know, the Roman, swords and sandal movies. You know, it's about Maximus. It's not about, you know, slaveholder over there to the right or whatever. It's like, you know.
My final question is, like, obviously, I know you mostly from Brotherhood, right? But so you've done TV.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
There you go. Everybody's got a different thing that they're in, right, for a particular performer. That's mine. But you've done plenty of great films, and I wonder, when you go back to TV, do you like working on TV? Does it not even matter? It's all about the story. What do you think? Is TV a good medium to work in for a performer?
Yes. I mean, at the moment we started shooting. I'm doing another HBO thing on Showtime, the basketball, the 80s, you know, with the Magic Johnson, the Lakers, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm playing a guy called Jerry West, who is is literally the logo, one of the most famous Lakers and basketballers of all time. You know, with John C. Reilly, and you know, and it's Adam McKay, and it's you know, it on that kind of level, it just feels like a movie, you know, except you just, hang on, we're still shooting, you know. I mean,
it's still
I think, you know, it's funny, you have these discussions with people all the time, and I was talking to a producer before I left LA, and I said, you know, what are you doing TV wise? He said, man, I don't want to. I just want to do TV. I want to do film. I love the power of, you know, what 2 hours of cinema does.
Yeah.
And it's a constantly evolving thing, and they're two totally different narratives in the end, aren't they?
Yeah.
And I think then, you know, cable or streaming now has even changed that. And it's how you can then watch it, how you can sit down there and absorb what is going on. And then you sit back in front of that cinema, man, and it's just, cinema is still cinema. And there is something about the epicness, if not just the screen and what that does to a story. A small story seems epic. Moonlight, you know, it's like, it gives it something, I don't know, it's just that magic sprinkle of dust that turns it into
Yeah.
art in a way.
I
Not
can't
to say
wait
that
to get
TV's
back.
not art, because it is.
I know, but I can't wait to get back to the cinema. Hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. But
Yeah,
Jason, thank
yeah,
you so much for your time today. Loved Catherine the Great. Thought you
no
were
problem.
really good as
Thank
Grigory,
you.
and we look forward to your next project.
Thank you, mate. Have fun.
Thank you. Everybody go to Gold Derby, make your predictions, click subscribe, and watch all of our great contender chats.